Hi. Alright, I want to quickly take you through the properties of a circle. Okay, so we have this circle drawn and we have the midpoint here. So for this line, which is this which I'm actually showing you, is called the circumference. So we have that at the circumference. So from this midpoint to any part of the circle. Alright, so my circle is not perfectly round. Alright, so let's take that as a circle. So we have this as the radius. Okay, then from here to any part of the circle, alright, to any part of the circumference rather. So we have this also as the radius. So we need to understand that 2 radii, that is radius plus radius, will give us a diameter. So in other words, from this point to this point, passing through the center, we call that the diameter D. Okay, so we have any other line from the circumference to another part of the circumference. This is called a chord. We call that a chord. Okay, so we can also say that the diameter is the longest chord on a circle. The diameter is the longest chord on a circle, as you can see, because any line passing through the center of the circle from one circumference to the end of the circumference passing through, that's a diameter, and it is the longest chord on a circle. So the other properties, okay, I said from this point to this point, or from any other point, you can call it from this place to this place. There is also a chord. Alright, so the closer it gets to the center of the circle, the larger it becomes, and the farther it goes from the center of the circle, the smaller the chord becomes. Okay, so the other properties that we have, quickly gonna draw another circle. We call here the center. Okay, so let's say from here, from the center of the circle to a part of the circumference, and from here to another part of the circumference. So it's actually forming another shape. So we call this shape a sector. So you can see this shaded portion, we call this a sector. And mind you, there are 2 kinds of sector. We have the major and we have the minor. So the minor sector is that which subtends a smaller arc at the center of the circle. So to bring out the shape of a sector, we have this as the shape of a sector. So this is the shape of a sector. So looking at this shape, you will see that there's another sector. So for this, that is the shaded portion, we call this the minor. So the minor means it's the smaller, sector. The minor sector. Now, what's the shape of the major sector? This is the shape of a major sector. Okay, this is the shape of a major sector. So when you bring the major sector and the minor sector, you have the full circle. So we have that. So while this other from here, if you trace it down to this portion, alright, so we call this the major sector, and we call this the minor sector. Okay, so what are the other properties? So let's draw another. So we have that at the center of the circle. We have this as a chord, alright, touching the ends of a circumference. So when we have this shaded portion, this is called the minor segment. We call it the segment. So the segment also has 2 parts. We have the major segment and we have the minor segment. So this is the minor segment because it is the smaller part of the segment. Then this other part, let me draw the shape, something like this. So we call this the major segment. The major segment. Alright. Okay, so what other this. Now having this as a circle here as the center, so from on this part that is being noted here and to this part, okay, let me use this to notify this. So this is called an arc. That's called an arc. So the same, we have major, we have minor. So there's something called a major arc, and there's that which is called a minor arc. Okay, so the minor is always the smaller, while the major is always the bigger part. So from this point, okay, let's say this is point A and we have here as point B. So from this point, when you trace it down to this point B, it's an arc. While this, when you trace this point up to this side, alright, so we call this the major. That's the major arc, while this side is called the minor arc. So these are the properties of a circle that you need to know and are very important. So if these are the properties of a circle, so in case you need further explanation, clarification, you can just send me a DM and I will respond to your inquiries. Thank you and see you in my next video.